Okay, making sure I don't freeze. Welcome to the Javier Mendez podcast. We got Javier in Vegas, getting ready for one of your fighters to fight tomorrow, Daniel Allen. Dana White, he's got that Tuesday series. How do you like that show? That's a quick entry into the UFC.
Well, it's a quick entry into the UFC if you're fortunate enough to excite Dana and the other matchmakers that are, making the decision who gets the contract to the UFC. So yeah, it's a nice way to go. It's another avenue for guys that don't have enough fights, but they're really talented, and for them to shine their talents. It's a good avenue. It's pretty good. I like it.
Contender Series is basically we don't have time to put on a huge UFC event to slide you in, but if you can make it through here, we can put you on one of those later. That's kind of how it works, I think.
Uh, yeah, I guess. I mean, it's just for me as a coach, it's good to have many outlets, and a Contender's another good outlet to have. They also have the Road to UFC outlets, which is another route. They're creating a lot of good routes to get into UFC, not just Ultimate Fighter. Because if you remember, a long time ago when the Ultimate Fighter first started, everybody that was an Fighter usually got a UFC contract. Mostly everybody. And then it got to the point where they don't even do that anymore. So if you're in the Ultimate Fighter, you don't necessarily have a contract anymore. Only if you're basically someone that is a needle mover. In other words, someone that the fans like, someone that's got that world class potential that they're looking for. So I think maybe that's why they created the Contenders, and then out of the Contenders, I think they created the Road to the UFC, and then on top of that, they also have all those little shows that you fight on. They give you an opportunity to get into the UFC, where the UFC puts them on their ESPN Fight Pass, all the Fight Pass shows they have in there, like LFA. LFA. Uriah Favor's got one. I don't know how many other ones are on the Fight Pass situation, but they have a lot of other avenues of bringing talent, which is very good. It's a very good format that the UFC implemented, and also UAE Warriors. UAE Warriors is on there too. They're on the Fight Pass.
That's pretty cool. So you get this tomorrow, and then it's back to training Usman, who's getting ready to fight in San Diego on the mega card of Bellator. That ought to be a nice trip.
Yeah, he's doing fantastic. He's fighting a very tough, world class competitor in Brett Premise, who is, the guy at any given day can beat anybody. He's that good. So we have to be ready for him. And also, I have Usman's training partner, Amaru, who's fighting for the title of the UAE Warriors, in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, sorry, in Abu Dhabi, he's fighting. And Amaru, you can expect, big things from him. You'll see big things from him. He's a superstar on the rise, from Team Habib.
And then you didn't get you sent your son to go catch the fights. I guess you're giving him a chance because he's going to be cornering some of the. Is he going to be cornering Daniel for this fight?
No, it'll be me and Ron Kessler, but my son trains Daniel too. So we wanted to bring him down. He wanted to come down so he can work. He's been with Daniel. He's been working with Daniel. I have not. I cornered Daniel, but I haven't been working with him. My son has been working with him on the mitts and striking techniques and whatnot.
That's pretty cool. So you're
Yeah.
going to go down there, get that out of the way, and let's hopefully get Daniel into the UFC. Best of luck on that fight.
Yeah. Best case we get the contract. Worst case we at least get the W.
Right. Well, that happened to another one of your guys too, right? That get to the dance, and then Dana's like,
we've gotten to the dance. I think with four or three of my guys in the Ultimate Fighter, and we never got the contract. We got the Ws, but we didn't get the contract. But we had 3 or 4 guys win. We haven't had a loss in the Contenders yet, but we didn't get a contract either. So at the same time, we haven't lost in there, but we haven't won either.
well, do you think you can quantify what Dana's looking for? Like some serious, like taking chances, going for it, total domination, or recovery, heart? What do you think his element, his
Well,
evaluation is?
obviously that what excites the crowd. You could be a world class guy, but at that particular moment you didn't excite them, so you're put in the back burner. Even though you're probably one of those guys that's probably going to be a champ one day, it doesn't matter. You have to excite him that day. So it isn't like the best of the best is going to come out that day. Just sometimes it's matchups, and how you match up with someone and how well you look with that matchup and how excited they are about what you did. So usually if you watch enough contenders, I haven't watched too many of them because of when they're on, right? But usually the guys that usually win end up winning in spectacular fashion. The finish or KO type of situation, submission or KO, or a real just dominant performance for the 3 rounds. Uh, and they see the greatness in the guy, and then they'll take him. But what's going to happen here? It's hard to say. I think, if I'm not mistaken, there's been some shows where no one got a contract.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, we had some of the fights. You sent your son. You didn't get a chance to go, but I watched them. I was like, okay, sometimes styles kind of mute each other out. There was a draw for the main event, and the Kevin Holland versus Jack Della Maddalena. That might as well have been a draw as well. I mean, the way that looked, it was just back and forth, 1-2, 1-2, one punch, back and forth.
It wasn't exciting. It wasn't exciting.
Not really. Not really.
Oh, okay.
And
And then their skill set must have been pretty high for both of them then.
Yeah,
Because if
high
they're not
skill
getting
set.
off, they're high
And
skill set.
Kevin Holland was good at staying out of the range. Jack Della Maddalena would get in, and he'd land a couple combos, and then you'd have to hunt him for most of the thing there. And I didn't see what was strange is I'd see I'd see Kevin Holland throwing a whole lot of power. I thought he had more power. I've seen him knock some guys out, and I'm like, where did your power go? Like, I don't know if power can fade. Never seen that happen.
No, power's the last thing that fades. It might very well be that he didn't want to risk it because he was maybe countering. I don't know. I didn't see the fight. I'm just guessing that maybe his countering, Jack's countering was really good, so he didn't want to risk it. He's a smart, Kevin's a very smart fighter, so I'm assuming that they just couldn't figure each other out. So that's why you got a lackluster fight. That happens sometimes when you got two great strikers and they just cancel each other out. They're not. It's not a great show.
And then Shevchenko and Grasso, both women went out there. They went for it, but it ended up in a draw, and I could see why it did because Shevchenko got more takedowns, and it looked like Grasso had more power. So she had probably the more devastating, punches and so forth. And good.
No, go ahead.
That was pretty much my summation of it. I mean, overall, that card was okay. I mean, there's guys jumping up and down, give me 50 grand for that fight. And I'm watching it as a person that's watched fights for 20 years going, you won, but if that was on a regular card, you wouldn't get 50 grand for that. Now, if it was something phenomenal, like a 3-second knockout, the flying kick from halfway across the thing, sure, okay, highlight reel, right? So I don't know, but
what about Raul Rosas? I guess he finished the guy.
Yeah, that was pretty good. He came out with a vengeance because I think he felt really pushed back because he lost his last fight and he's like, I got to dominate, and he was taking chances. The guy he was fighting was competitive and he was throwing hard. They were both going for it, but eventually, after about 35, maybe a minute in, he started realizing that he shouldn't risk his chin so much and started, going in at the right times and finally connected, put the guy out. So I think it was actually that might have been a submission. Let me double check.
No. I saw it. It's not a submission. It was strikes. He hit him
strikes.
with the
I thought it was
cross.
strikes. I was just double
He hit him with the cross. He dropped him, then he rained on him, and then just enormous punches, power punches from the top, and the ref stopped it. So it was a ref stoppage, but it was due to 2 strikes. He looked good. Regarding the championship fight, there's the big issue where everybody is more or less across the board that the judging needs to change because the last round, one of the judges that favored Grasso by a 10-8 round, and everybody's saying that there's no way that was a 10-8 round. That was at the very least, 10-9, but not 10-8. Everybody's saying it wasn't a 10-8 round. I didn't see the fight. I don't know. I'm just reading what everybody's saying.
I agree with that. I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't know. All I know is the champ, former champ, she she doesn't complain about nothing, so she's complaining about that. There's something there. I have to watch the fights myself. I didn't watch them, but just based on the complaints, it's about the reffing, judging, the judging, not the reffing. Sorry, the judging, bad judging. They're not on the same page. But again, this is nothing new, right? We've been there before. We've seen judges decide the victor, and it's not necessarily what the overall fans think is the victor. It's I don't know. It's been a puzzle, and it will continue to be a puzzle. It's not as bad. The judging isn't as bad, but there still needs to catch up. But then, if you think about it, right, in boxing history, still to this day, you have bad judging that screws up boxing major fights. So nothing new.
Yeah. So this is it. I mean, how are you enjoying Vegas? Good times? Are you doing did you do any training there, or just like wait for Daniel to do the weight cut pretty much?
I don't get involved in the weight cut. My son has been involved with him, staying with him. I'm here at the Palace Station and doing nothing, no gambling. No, I haven't gambled at all. Just been in my room. I went to go out eat with a few friends of mine, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, it's just like being in the room. I haven't even went out to work out, and I just saw the workout room there. It's a little small place, but I'm gonna go and do that today because I'm getting antsy. I got to go do something. But yeah, no, it's a nice place. Power Station, they redid it. They added a new wing to it. I haven't been there but 20 years ago. And it's a lot nicer now. Yeah, it's really nice.
It's funny if you go there 20 years ago and they had that 80s look, and now all of a sudden, oh, it's been modern.
It's more modern. They got a movie theater in here. They got a movie theater and everything in here. So yeah, it's pretty cool.
Weather good out there?
Yeah, it's hot.
Oh, it's hot, really? Yeah, it's still kind of semi-summertime Vegas wise.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. Any new and exciting news I didn't ask about, Hav, because we kept this one short today.
No,
you get a big fight tomorrow, so good.
Yeah, you mentioned the thing about Bellator. You read somewhere where Bellator is not selling or is selling.
It looks like they didn't come to a deal between PFL and Bellator, and they said what I read in this article. I mean, when I'm reading this late at night, like they were basically saying like we're going to run Bellator till the money runs out, whatever the production money. And I'm like, I don't know what that means. Could mean a variety of things. Could mean the people behind.
Is that a Bellator exec saying that we're going to run it till the money runs out, or is that PFL guy saying that?
I think that was a Bellator person. It wasn't Scott Coker personally saying anything like this. It wasn't a Coker quote that I recall. I'll have to look it up again, but that was something I saw. And it's just like to talk about the hypotheticals. I mean,
it could be a bunch of bullshit too, right? It could be not real.
Could be clickbait.
Because I mean, it could be clickbait. I mean, a lot of people do that. Sometimes, you think you're this, and all of a sudden you're that, and you're going just like me, making assumptions. Oh yeah, we're fighting so and so, but it was never finalized. And because I would shoot the gun sometimes rather than wait for the UFC to announce what the deal is, and it's so complicated, So I'm just asking those questions because nothing appears to be what it is sometimes, and sometimes it appears to be everything it says it is. I'm just asking.
I'm going to look it up while I'm talking to you. I'm going to just double check. Just to think that they were talking about merging with the PFL. I don't know what that would have looked like. Do you have any idea?
Yeah. Well, I know that they were planning on merging, but not merging because look, you got to understand this. You got Bellator. You got how many contracts that these guys have contracts. You can't just buy a company and put the fighters out of work that have legit contracts. You got to fulfill those contracts. So you would think if PFL is buying or is going to continue to buy Bellator, they have to fulfill those contracts. So they have to get these guys busy or they have to pay them. You can't have a contract on a guy and you can't release him unless he loses or he does something against the contract. So those are two things. So it's really difficult to do that. And you got to fight them 2 times a year. That's the average, 2 times a year. You got to fight them, and if they don't fight them, they have to pay them. So it's one of those deals where I don't see PFL trying to buy Bellator so they can close them up because that'd be too difficult to do. It'd be stupid.
Right.
Why would you do that?
What would be the point?
That wouldn't be the point.
They compete in different. It wouldn't add an instant influx of people to watch them. A lot of those people would probably just run off to the UFC. Be honest with you.
Well, yeah, and also too, I think if I'm not mistaken, number one, Bellator has the deeper talent pool. Bellator has by far the deeper talent pool, and they also have the more recognizable people. Everybody knows who the Bellator champs are. Most people do. It's with the exception of Ngannou and Jake Paul, and the girl, the girl
Judo.
fighter. Yeah, yeah. Everybody, not many people know too many PFL champions. I don't know. I don't know any of them. I really don't.
Well,
Because
here's your thing. Here's
it's
the
a different
report.
time.
I can read you the report. This is from Fightful, and basically it says Bellator expected to fold in near future after talks of merger with PFL fall apart. Bellator reportedly will reportedly fold following talks of a merger with PFL breaking down. Twitter report Todd Atkins, July 28th, claimed that the merger between PFL would be
July.
part of it.
That's July 28th.
Well, this is recent news. So this is September 15th. We're at the 18th. And then the thread begins because at one point the Todd Atkins show, talks were going very well. Lawyers got involved, financials got scrutinized, and outside forces injected themselves. Whatever deal the PFL has with ESPN is also coming to an end. He goes, at this point in time, Bellator is going to run shows until the money is gone and then fold. That's what I'm getting from this guy's tweet.
That's such a negative, indicating that Bellator needed to sell or they're going to fold up. I don't think that's true. Bellator,
Right?
is not
Better.
It's not folding up. They're not folding up. They're functioning well. Their crowds are good. Their stars are coming up there. Nah. I don't buy that. I don't buy all that. There's probably some truth to it, which the truth might be that the PFL might have skipped on buying them, but anything else after that, yeah, it's just like if someone tell me the PFL is going under too. I'm like, from one source, okay, but when if you get it all over the board, it's everywhere. Like all the news sites are posting that, then probably true. Now think about it. Whenever something like that happens, it goes everywhere, right? It's viral everywhere.
There's only one report. There's only one report 2 days
Yeah.
ago.
So it's probably it's catch news, fake news. I think
It could be inverted. There could be some twists that this is what you meant. Yeah, some hook. I mean, that's the one
clickbait.
That's the one thing you and I have not hunted for or tried. I've noticed, like in this MMA podcast sphere, there's guys talking smack to each other about who knows more about some situation. I think to us, we don't give a damn. We're like, fine, say what you want. We don't care. It's like not our generation, just a different style. They're trying to make themselves popular by talking crap about each other amongst the other, look what so-and-so said.
Yeah,
I don't know what that's about, but we don't know. We're not into it. Like and subscribe. Thanks for checking in. Hang on the line there, Hob.
All right.